Hey there, biology. Mrs. Cozen here again. This is going to be Unit 3 cells, and this is going to be video 2B. We're going to continue talking about eukaryotic cells and their organelles. Okay, so we are still talking about the cells with a nucleus. Now, in the last video, I just finished off talking about ribosomes right here. And I'm going to continue talking about if the school were a cell. So ribosomes are made inside the nucleolus, and then their job is to go out into the cell and to put together proteins. And we use proteins to speed up chemical reactions, to help build and break down materials. So ribosomes are super important. Ribosomes are really the whole point of the cell. Without making ribosomes, a cell couldn't work. So when I think of the school as a cell, I think of you guys as the ribosomes, okay? The whole point of a school is students, okay? So the whole point of a cell is ribosomes. Okay, so they're made in the nucleolus, and then they come on out of the nucleolus, out of the nucleus through the nuclear membrane or the nuclear envelope, and then they're going to go to our next spot, okay? And they're going to go out of the nucleus right here, okay? And they're going to go out into the cytoplasm. They're going to have one other organelle they go through first. The cytoplasm is all the space between the nucleus and the cell membrane, okay? Everything inside the cytoplasm, all those organelles are included as a part of it. Think of it sort of like the liquid or the gel that holds everything together, okay? If the school were a cell, I imagine the cytoplasm to be all the space between, all the three-dimensional space, okay? Not just like the floor, but all the air, all the space from floor to ceiling between the doors of the main office and the outside wall, okay? So cytoplasm, all cells have cytoplasm, okay? So all the space between the nuclear envelope, nuclear membrane right here, all the way out to the cell membrane, okay? Endoplasmic reticulum, here's our next spot, our stop for ribosomes, okay? Endoplasmic reticulum, you guys, first of all, it's always right next to the nucleus, okay? So if this represents the nucleus right here, this little purple thing, okay, it's always usually attached to the nucleus because it's the first stop for the ribosomes after they leave the nucleus, okay? And its job is to help proteins and lipids get where they need to go. We've got two types. We have rough endoplasmic reticulum. That's the type that processes ribosomes. And then we have smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and that's going to be also attached to the rough ER, but it has no ribosomes, okay? Smooth ER's job is to process like lipids and fats. I think of the endoplasmic reticulum as a method for proteins to get out into the cell or to be processed. And if the school were a cell, I think of it like our hallways. I think of rough ER like a hallway that's full of students between classes, and I think of smooth ER as an empty hallway during classes. Okay, Golgi body. This is the next stop for proteins after it leaves the ER. Golgi body's job is to tell the proteins where they need to go now that they've been processed and they're fully ready to be used, okay? It packages and ships them to their destination, so it tells them where to go. So you can see after we leave the smooth ER, which would be right here, okay, we have the Golgi body. The ER is always right around the nucleus. The Golgi body is outside of that. And I usually like to think of it sort of like a post office, okay? It tells everything where it needs to go. Think of it sort of like the UPS man. If the school were a cell, I think of the Golgi apparatus like the counselors, okay? The Golgi apparatus tells the ribosomes where to go. The counselors tell the students where they need to go. They make your schedules. They help you figure out where you got to go, what you got to do. So if the school were a cell, I think of the Golgi apparatus like our counselors. All right, now only in plant cells, so make sure to put a big circle around this, okay? We're going to start talking about how do we make energy inside cells, or we're not going to make or create energy, but how do we process energy? And in plant cells, that's first done in a chloroplast, okay? Chloroplasts are the things that are going to help us to absorb light energy and turn them into chemical energy that the plant cell can use, okay? This one, you guys, it's not an actual picture of a chloroplast. It's an artist's rendition of a chloroplast. I just think it's really cool looking. Our next unit is photosynthesis, and you guys will get to see we have these sort of little stacks of things. They're called thylakoids. And I just thought this was a really cool picture of it. So remember, this is only in plant cells. Okay. Now, vacuoles. Vacuoles store water for us. In animal cells, they're really small. In plant cells, they're really big. Okay? That's because plants can't just get up and go to water when they want to. Okay? Plant cells have to store their water and hold on to it for a dry day. Okay? Most animal cells can usually kind of get up and move to water, so they don't have to store as much water. Okay? So I often think of the school as a cell. I think of the vacuoles like, our swimming pool. Even though it's over at the middle school, okay, it's still sort of a part of our campus, storing a bunch of water. It's not very big in comparison to our campus. If we were an animal cell, we just wouldn't need that much water. We can get up and move and get our own. Mitochondria. Mitochondria are in all cells. They're in plant and animal cells. Okay, so make sure that you put a big star next to this. Okay, this is how we process the energy that we've gathered. In plant cells, first we gather the energy through photosynthesis, and in animal cells we gather it through taking in food. Okay, mitochondria are the things that take that energy, whether it came from the sun or from food that we gathered, and it's going to convert it into material that we can use. Okay. I often think of the mitochondria and maybe even the chloroplasts like our lunch ladies. They take in raw materials in the morning or the day before, and they take it and they convert it into food that we can consume. Okay, so maybe they'll take in, flour and eggs and, hamburger and whatever we're going to have, and they make it into an awesome lunch for us to eat the next day. Okay, mitochondria is the thing that processes raw materials so that we can use them. Okay, lysosomes. Lysosomes are the things that help to clean up our cell. We call them the suicide sac. Okay. In this cell right here, okay, you can see every once in a while in our cells, we get organelles that become damaged, and we don't want to leave those inside our cell. If they're not working, they could harm the rest of our cell if we don't get rid of them. So when an organelle first becomes damaged, the first place that it heads to is this place called the lysosome. Okay, so you can see here's the organelle that's dying. It heads towards the lysosome, or the lysosome will head towards the damaged organelle and pick it up. And then it sort of takes it in. And the lysosome, it's really cool how it works. It actually merges with our cell membrane, opens up and releases that waste into the space between cells so that it can be removed. Okay, we call it the suicide sac because the damaged organelle, even before it's completely useless, will head straight to the lysosome to clear itself from the cell. Okay, I think of the lysosomes like our janitors. Okay, they help to clean up our awesome school. Okay, so they help to clean things up before they become a problem. Let's see, just seeing how much time we've got. Oh, okay, cool. All right, doing great. All right, cytoskeleton. Okay, even though cells, animal cells don't have like a hard cell wall, they still have something that helps them so that they don't get crushed under their own weight. Okay, and that's called a cytoskeleton. It helps the cell to keep its shape. It helps it remain sort of three-dimensional, even though it's not like hard. It doesn't have an actual sort of like physical bones inside of it. Okay, one example of cytoskeleton would be something called microtubules. Okay, and they're almost like little straws. Okay. They're just, they're usually made out of like proteins, and they're just, they're a hard, hollow tube that help to give our cell sort of that three-dimensional shape so that it doesn't collapse under its own weight. Okay, microtubules. On your picture that you guys are coloring, they look kind of like little chopsticks. All right, and here's my silly little comic about organelles. Okay. Starting in the nucleus here, because the nucleus, remember, is the boss of the cell. Says, everybody do what I say. And then mitochondria says, ha ha ha, no. Mitochondria kind of lives under its own set of rules. Mitochondria is not bossed by the nucleus or proteins at all, okay? Endoplasmic reticulum says, I have so much work to do. Golgi body says, I need a break, because these two are constantly working to process proteins, okay? Vacuole, I feel quite fulfilled. Haha. Small vacuole, so this would be an animal cell, guys. And then lysosome, remember our suicide sac, says everything I touch and destroy. Haha. Little science humor for you dudes. Okay. So last thing, guys, let's talk about the differences between plant and animal cells. This is an important thing that you have to know for this unit, okay? I'm just looking at these two pictures, okay? I want you guys to take a second, pause me and look at these two and see the things that you find different, okay? Okay, so hopefully you've paused and taken a look now. You guys will see on the outside of the plant cell, we have a cell wall.